What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you on VinFast. I want to go over some of the current data points, what's been coming out from the company, and why I feel potentially that things might be starting to turn around, at least in the short term for VinFast. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, it did go down 0.48%, a lot of volume though, so 4.6 million shares being traded, 2.9 is the average. So that is very good for a Friday because typically Fridays are lower volume, and plus even over the last little bit, just the volume has been starting to pick up. So VinFast is starting to get more and more attention as it did get cheaper. So I think it might be getting to more so that reflection point essentially where it could be starting to pivot higher. And I'm going to touch on that in a little bit more, but based on this, there has been no recent PR, no SEC filings, nothing like that. So the last being on the 21st, which was their earnings. And prior to that was on the 15th. So no real news, but a lot of people are starting to speculate when the VF6 essentially would be coming out because it does just show available soon. And this is under the VinFast American website. So when it comes down to the VF6, I think based on the price point, estimated price point, that would be very good because there is a Reddit post that does kind of portray the pricing. So it does say in Vietnam, the VF6 is around 29,000 base model. So in the US price would be around 26,000. So I think based on what it does offer and that price point, that would be absolutely huge for the market. And in turn, hopefully bring in a lot of sales to VinFast. And of course, I think this is all stemming from as far as a lot of VF6s seen in the wild. So definitely, I think that's a pretty good thing in my own opinion. But when it comes down to VinFast's actual stock price, it is all over the place because a lot of people kind of look at the PS ratio and still say, well, it's at 40.3, it's still way overvalued. So you kind of get different viewpoints on that. So people that are looking at the actual numbers are saying that it's overvalued, but at the same time, a lot of people are referring to options activity. Even a lot of articles as far as where VinFast might be going, they refer to options activity to dictate where it's going. So based on Friday, there was $3.2 million in calls being purchased versus 2.74 million in puts. So this is a 180 from what it was. Over the last little bit, there's been a huge amount of puts being purchased, meaning that people were anticipating for it to trend down until it actually did get to around the $12 price point. This is where you start to see a lot more calls being purchased. So potentially the bottom might be in as far as based on the options activity. And as of right now, up until I guess since options did start, technically the options activity has been kind of on point. So looking as far as this, if you are optimistic, this shows all the calls and kind of a bullishness a little bit. So based on this upcoming expiry date of October the 6th, it does and is anticipated to kind of go between the 1350 and 1450 range. So pretty good stuff as far as that. If you are negative as far as the puts, it is anticipated to be, looks like sub $11. You kind of have both extremes, but no matter what, when it comes down to options activity, it does not move the stock price one bit. It is just merely a sentiment. So that's just something to keep in mind. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market, over $100,000 from Friday. So it kind of matches with the higher volume. So a lot of big money getting in. And these are some of the transactions that did occur on the dark pool. So dark pool is linked to shorting. So when it comes down to the, I guess if you want to call it that, bullishness a little bit going into next week, I do feel that there could be a squeeze. And before you crucify me for saying that, I just want to go over the short information just to kind of put it in perspective. So when it comes down to shorts, I think ever since day one, because of the obviously the float size, a lot of people were saying that essentially that this could be a squeeze play, which in some cases, yes, if some good news would have come out, then it could have prompted a squeeze, because there's four things that you need for a squeeze, essentially. You need a high utilization, a lot of shares being shorted, a high cost to borrow, and a surprise catalyst. So it's that surprise catalyst, that's what VinFast has really kind of missed out on over the last little bit. But short score is currently 80, utilization is 94.81, and as far as right now, so shorts, I guess essentially on Friday did return about 73,000 shares, but 10.74% of the free float is being shorted, 3.46 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 126.44%, the max being 269.89%, so that is very high. But one thing I want to draw your attention to is this. So via the interactive broker short availability, it does indicate that there is no shares available to be shorted. So once again, that's a pretty big deal. Shorts might have overextended themselves a little bit. So based on the options activity and just this data, things could be potentially going up going into next week, because you also have to factor in what came out late last night was this. So Congress did pass a bill to keep the government open, averting a shutdown. And this has been one thing that was plaguing the market in a negative way. So once again, that could, along with the data points for VinFast, cause the stock price to go up. But that just might be temporary, because a lot of people still will revert back to this, in my opinion, which does show the PS ratio at 40.3. So let me know your thoughts on VinFast, and give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying over the last little bit, selling? What's your kind of viewpoint on all of that? But as far as some of the technicals, so with it currently at $12.50, it is well below all of the kind of levels right now. It's actually in fact below this S3, which is considered very, very oversold. And as far as this, stochastic is kind of showing the exact same thing. But on stochastic, it also does show a nice bullish sentiment starting to form. So black line above the red. As well, a number of retail investors have been slowly getting back into VinFast. It looks like ever since September the 18th. So once again, I do feel that it could potentially pop up to around the $13 to $14 range. So if it does get back into this S3 to this S2, $14.22 is going to be that strong resistance level, and then that $12.91, which currently is resistance, will turn to support levels. So once again, that's at least what I see happening in the short term. But like I mentioned, it does fall back down onto the company just performing, and without them performing and hitting a home run on that, then people are just still going to revert back to this and cause it to go down. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think that VinFast is going to have a pop this week, or just a temporary run? What's your kind of viewpoint on all that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, this promo has been extended up until October the 20th. So take advantage of this. Just sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So this is one of the best deals that you can get on the market. So link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching, and let's all make a lot of money on VinFast.